Hello, folks. As I announced before, we're going to talk about sequential ordering today. The whole thing will run about 15 minutes or so. And there are a couple of places I want you to stop the video clip and then do the exercise. The instruction will be given for it. This is based on my own writing, and what the topic is what's called the sequential ordering. Sequential ordering simply means you are looking at the sequence between sentences. 자, here you have two writing. The first one was by native speakers, college freshmen. The second one is non-native speaker. And this writing sample was used by Hinkle to argue that there's a substantial difference between native speakers and non-native speakers. 자, stop the video clip and read these two passages to see the quality of their writing. Native speakers writing. He says, a job is a method of economic support, and self-respect and self-esteem are the key to success in one's work. Employment represents a way of paying bills or earning cash. Now, Hinkle's point about this writing is that the writing is better than non-native writing because you have different vocabulary to refer to the same thing. So this writing avoids being redundant. Whereas this non-native writing, if you look at it, there's a lot of pronoun that are used not effectively. Take a look. It will be wasting time of life if we choose majors by only concentrating on jobs. It might be easy to get a job, but it will not stay for a long time, and it does not give us causes less patience and confidence about what they are doing. So the writer never says what it refers to, what they means here, but then still use it. So just like in conversations where you use a lot of pronouns, this non-native writers does not show diversity in using pronouns, and that's Hinkle's point. And in today's lessons, I want to say that the Hinkle's argument is one way of looking at this data. There's another way. This alternative way, help us to understand the choices and problems these writers face as they build these multiple sentences. And this is based on what's called a sequential analysis. Sequential analysis, they look at, when they examine speaking, they look at next turn at talk. So when you examine conversations like this, in order for you to understand how B understands A, you simply look at the next sentences. Sorry. And if you want to understand what B means, you simply look at the next sentence, and so on. So what that does is, rather than researchers' understanding, we are looking at A's understanding and B's understanding in line by line. So when you say, how long are you going to be in town? Oh, till about Monday. And then A says, oh, it'll be just we understand how how A understands B's answer. So you want to look at line by line and see what kind of strategies the writers make. That's what we are trying to do. So let's go back to the sequential ordering. Now, here if you look at the first sentence, a job is a method of economic support. So the writer, this native writer, talks about job being being helpful to support you financially. Then when you finish this sentence, you always have a choice. Would you want to continue this theme, or would you want to shift the topic? Let's take a look. Self-respect and self-work. Okay, he is still talking about work, but then from economic support, his focus is shifted into self-respect and self-esteem. Right? It has a little bit. It's a little bit difference, between economic support and all these things. So he decided to shift. So when you look at sentence 1 and 2, you can see the choice. But then what happened, the sentence between 2 and 3? Well, in sentence 3, the writer says employment represents a way of paying bills and earning cash. Take a look. He still talks about job, but he talks about paying bills and earning cash. I think this is more related to economic support than self-respect and self-esteem. In other words, support, but then he shifted to different thing, and he comes back to that issue. So by looking at the sentence by sentence, we see the choices or strategies the writers have made. And in this particular case, the focus is shifted again and again. Let's take a look at this non-native writing. It says, it will be wasting time of life if you choose majors by only concentrating on jobs. So he's talking about choosing a major in college, and then and then why the choices are made. Probably because you want to have a good job. That is the theme. Let's take a look at the second sentence to see whether this non-native speaker, she continues to do the might be easy to get a job, but it will not stay for a long time. Okay, once you have a major and then you get a job, but you are not likely to stay for a long time. Okay, so you have some sort of continuity between 1 and 2. What about 3? It does not give as much interest as they wanted to do, and it causes less patience and confidence about what they're doing. It looks like she's talking about the same thing, extending the issue a little bit. So, I'm not talking about grammatical choices here. We're talking about the content choice the writers make. And the choice, we want to identify sentence after sentence rather than reading the whole thing and then give sort of general remark. Doesn't allow us to identify strategies that is shown between sentences. So that's the point of sequential ordering. It helps us to get closer to the choices the writers make. So in this paper that you read for I think a couple of weeks ago, I gave 4 samples, and this is the second sample, and I'm going to analyze this with you in this video clip, and then I'll have you analyze number 3 and number 4 to have some practice on sequential ordering. Now, this particular paper was written by Seogang students in my classes that I taught a few years ago. In this writing, I asked students to identify the strengths and the weaknesses and what are some ways to close the gap created by this different view. So there's a theory called assimilationism and pluralism. They are supposed to talk about how to close the gap in this writing assignment. let's see how this particular student decides to write. First sentence, if you see, he says the definitions of assimilation is celebrate personal achievement and self-reliance. I think you should let's stop the video clip and then read the whole passage and then come back. See this video clip, we see that the writer begins with definitions. That's an interesting choice. So when he was asked to find ways to close the gap, he just decided to provide the definitions of assimilationism. And then he says, celebrate personal achievement and self-reliance. Now, once you produce definition, what is he going to do? Well, if you look at the first sentence, he says, it means each person is unique and all people have same set of universal human rights and needs and responsibilities. It looks like he is trying to explain the definitions in the second sentence. In other words, in the first sentence, he provides definition. In the second sentence, he explains that definition. And that's his choice. He says there exists a fair society and so on. So it looks like he's portraying a society where this assimilation is applied. So there's a little bit of shift. Two sentences are about definition, and then probably in the third sentence he tries to provide an example. Now, fourth sentence, he shifted into a pluralism and then offer some sort of definition. This is an also interesting choice. And he determines that 3 sentences are enough about assimilationism. And now he moves on to the in the fourth sentence, he moves to the pluralism. That's an interesting choice. What about sentence 5? Different levels. Now we can see he is also trying to explain the 4 sentences, just like he did in the second sentence, and that's his choice. Now, what happened then to the next sentence? He says 2 different views. One is equally responsibility, another is socially differentiated. Now we can see the writer moves to summarize his 2 views. So he offers 5 sentences defining these 2 terms, and then he tries to summarize these 2 views using his own words. That's his choice. What about next sentence? It says the way they can close the gap is given the same opportunity. Okay, now we see that he tries to address the question and so on. So we can see the choices the writers make. First, he wanted to provide definition first, and then in his definition he tried to explain these definitions in his own words, and then he tried to address the questions. And these are the choices he's making. And maybe other students choose a different way. So the point here is by identifying his choices in this way, we can get closer to his thinking process, his writing process. Then you can determine whether this writing good, adequate, or not. Right? So that's the point of this sequential. So some ways for you to identify the writer's choice is where they begin, and when do they shift the topic, and then how they connect each sentences. And by identifying them, you will have a good understanding of the strategies the writers make. So for the next probably 15 and 20 minutes, I'd like you to analyze third, and fourth accept by using this method to identify writer's choice. And this is the group for the accept 3, and this is the group for the accept 4. So when you come back, we're gonna have a wrap-up sessions in using sequential ordering. Okay? Right. I hope this video made sense to you, and then have a great weekend, and see you next.